how much we kind of like anchor our day to the meals that we eat. And we're constantly spending so much time looking forward to our next meal. And it kind of just like gives us that sense of routine. And I think that's almost harder than not eating, is like breaking free of like that pattern that so many of us are so used to day in and day out.
Yeah, that is so true. Because during the fast, I noticed that many times where I would have just a instinctual thought of like, what's for dinner, or what am I going to eat today?
Yeah.
And then I had to remind myself like, oh, I'm not eating for a day and a half.
Yeah.
I got a long way to go. And yeah, that is so true, that there's so much thought that goes into what just the next time I'm eating.
Yeah, it's just
and like planning, and
it's something like a milestone in your day, or just like anchors within the course of your day that are so routine to us and so like regular that we don't understand how important I guess they are to like the structure of our life. And pulling that away, again, I think for a lot of people is actually what's more uncomfortable than the idea of like being hungry. That's what I found, at least.
Yeah, I noticed in one of the first time I fasted, I noticed that for me, the hunger doesn't get worse. It just gets more frequent.
Okay.
So I never got more hungry. It just would come up more often.
I could see that. I totally understand that, for sure. This time it was so weird. I barely had hunger. Would I have liked to eat? Absolutely. But like I wasn't really all that hungry. I was certainly never starving. I think that Saturday night, right before we broke the fast, when I was falling asleep, I think I had my first couple like hunger pangs, and they went away really fast. My energy was good throughout, but I think that's because I did a really good job this year of pacing myself effectively and not like trying to cram too much in over the course of those days. But the biggest thing that for me is like cognitively, my brain power like comes and goes over the course of those 3 days, where there's sometimes where I'm feeling great and I'm like cruising and I'm in flow state. And then there's other times where I could feel like it's challenging to even put a sentence together.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely relate to that. So, Jared, do you have any takeaways from this fast? Like things, because obviously it's a big experience and it's like a completely different thing. What are you taking from it into your life?
So for me, because I've done the fast a handful of times, the fast itself, my experience with the actual fasting personally, there's not that much to take away from. I've done it before, and I guess if there is anything to take away from it, it's just simply the more you do something and the more commonly and more frequently you do something, the easier it becomes. I think that's like common knowledge at this point and something I've already known, but this is a pretty serious challenge, and the fact that it was easier for me this year came as a surprise. I wasn't expecting that at all. For me, some of the things that I take away are, because I put the event on, a lot of it has to do with proper coordination of an event like this, which is multiple days long, multiple events, a lot of moving parts, and people were remote throughout it. So it's not an event where everybody is right there in person the entire time. It's something where you have to be communicating and encouraging and motivating and informing dispersed people, decentralized people over an extended period of time, not only during the event, but leading up to it as well, because you want people to prepare effectively. And I will be the first to admit I am not a fasting expert, like whatsoever. I'm more of like a bro science kind of guy, and I just sort of like the first time we did it, I didn't prepare at all. I just like my wife and we threw ourselves into it with zero prep. And now it's like people are asking me, well, what should I do with this, or how do I prepare? And I'm like, I sent an email out with some information. Like that's all the information that I have. So I think that there's like a component where like moving forward, there's like certain communication takeaways. There's things that I'm thinking about for next year, how to make sure that everybody's more informed and more motivated from the outset, and just like logistically keeping everybody in the loop in a more like streamlined fashion, I think is really like the biggest takeaways for me. So not as fasting related as much as like event and like honestly like coaching related in a lot of ways.